EV invasion. You see, electric cars are starting to come and they're coming fast and they're going to take over America and the globe.
The electric future, as Elon said. And I do think it increases the probability that our forecast of 60 million electric vehicle sales by 27, it has increased the probability that that is right.
The implications of ARK Invest estimate, if correct, are profound. You won't find a single forecasting agency on planet Earth who are even close to 60 million electric vehicles sold, even in 2030, let alone 2027. It was only a few weeks ago that Moron Stanley outed themselves as Moron Stanley, expecting just 25% of all new vehicles sold in 2030 to be electric. Spoiler alert, global automotive market, let's just round up to about 80 million vehicles a year. Do the math on that. Moron Stanley at about 20 million electric vehicles sold in 2030. ARK at 60 million in 2027. To put this in context, based on the assumptions in my Tesla valuation model, in the base case, Tesla would have about 12 or so % of that market, and in the bull case, about 17% of that market. ARK Invest's estimate is going to be much closer to the mark than just about anyone is expecting. It's not to say they'll be perfectly on point. Of course they can't be. They don't know the exact number. But when most experts are at a fraction of ARK's 2027 estimate in 2030, there's a huge disconnect, and I know whose estimate I'd be putting my money on.
I know I might sound crazy to some, but this is an opportunity that a lot of people might miss out on. This could be one of the biggest investment opportunities ever. So, BYD, a Chinese-made EV company, is one of the largest EV companies globally and sold more EVs than Tesla in 2003. But some of those were hybrids, and those shouldn't really count as fully electric vehicles if you ask me. Those shouldn't count, But at the same time, it's not like Tesla's going to go cry in a corner because they actually want more people to make electric vehicles because it's part of their mission to change the entire earth to sustainable energy. And it's been their mission since they started the company, so BYD is actually doing a very good thing in Tesla's eyes. BYD right now is crushing it all over China and in other parts of the globe, but America, not so much. You see, China and the United States are not getting along so well, especially when it comes to trading. So there's a lot of holdups and a lot of blocks that's preventing BYD from just actually accessing the country with their vehicles simply. But something funny has happened. Do you know how Tesla is currently building a factory in Mexico right now? Well, guess what? Funny enough, BYD is making plans also to build a factory in Mexico. Hey, Mexico and the United States are connected. Take a wild guess what's going to happen next.
In this new research note from Morgan Stanley, the title, Trojan EV, Tesla, Mexico, and China. The US wants electric vehicles, but electric vehicle supply relies on China. China wants export markets, but confronts a rise in protectionism. Elon Musk wants way cheaper electric vehicles. So do consumers. But you need China for that. Mexico is in a powerful position to broker a westernized, China-based EV supply chain.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. It's the Trojan horse coming from China, and they're going to ride that horse right into the United States, and you're going to see BYD all over the place. So this article is from Morgan Stanley. I'm just going to post the pictures up here. So if you want, you can pause the video, take a look at them, go for your life. And I would say read it because it is some very interesting information. But pretty much long story short, it's basically speaking about how China and Tesla are going to be making factories in Mexico because Tesla's like, hey, China, we're going to need some people to help supply our cars with some extra batteries. Maybe you can build a factory in Mexico. China's like, oh yeah, man, why not? We'll do that for sure. And not only that, we'll probably build some cars too. And this way we can have those cars sent right into America. So what Mexico is doing is that they're taking this as a big power move because it's going to bring a lot of money to their economy. So what Mexico is doing right now is making sure all their trade rules are perfectly fine and aligned with America's. So when BYD does start making these cars, they're going to be Mexican-made cars. This way, the trading issue will kind of be gone, and it will allow BYD to flow regular traffic of their cars directly into the United States. It is a Trojan horse move, and my goodness, you're going to see a flood of electric vehicles come into the United States next year and then the next few coming years. It's going to be madness.
So a few closing thoughts. Given how many years ahead in terms of scale, operations, technology, you name it, Tesla is, versus every company outside of China. Tesla is highly vertically integrated. They control their destiny. Who was it that, a year ago announced a lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, Texas? That would be Tesla. Who was it in record time that built a gigantic, wholly owned factory, the first ever for a non-Chinese automotive manufacturer? Previously, everyone forced into a joint venture in China, had the red carpet rolled out, got below market rate financing for the factory. That would be Tesla back in 2019. Who today is already producing, give or take, 1 million electric vehicles per year in China and using that as an export hub and selling locally to Chinese consumers. That would be Tesla. And which region has the most advanced electric vehicle market with the most electric vehicles sold in that region per year? That would be China. It seems pretty obvious that Tesla and China will be building out global electric vehicle supply chains. And this speculation from Morgan Stanley regarding Mexico, I think it's completely on point. Tesla has essentially opened the floodgates by announcing the factory in Mexico and encouraging those who set up their Shanghai supply chain to do likewise in Mexico. It's very likely that Tesla is going to have a huge hand, indirectly, in helping companies like Ford, Stellantis, GM, even EV startups, to survive that little bit longer by doing more of their homework and more of the heavy lifting allowing these companies to jump on. Now, I don't know exactly how this plays out, but I'm certain Morgan Stanley are onto something here in terms of partnerships. But I think it is going to come to a point where companies like Ford, Government Motors realize they're headed for bankruptcy. They get desperate and they go, fuck it, what can we do here to survive? I know. Let's stop making vehicles entirely. Let's just buy the skateboard from Tesla. Maybe we can just slap our badge on the back of it. You ever see a computer that said Intel inside? Exactly. I think this is going to be a gradual process. Initially, we'll hear partnerships for battery factories between Chinese companies and some of the legacy OEMs. A couple of years later, though, they start to get desperate, like, fuck this, man. We need to scale back a little bit. I can see a future. I don't know exactly when. Where companies like Ford and GM are licensing software, probably from Tesla, unless they're too embarrassed to do that, and then they'll find somebody else. For the operating system, for FSD, or something similar. Buying batteries from somebody else, and or the entire skateboard, the entire drivetrain, and have effectively become glorified window dressers, which isn't too far off the truth today. I've outsourced a lot anyway, but I think there's going to come a point as these companies are taking their final breaths where if you're to buy a Ford or a General Motors electric vehicle, the vast majority of technology inside, hardware and software, is going to be coming from somebody else. And due to the financially unsustainable, huge compensation increases for UAW workers, I think companies like Ford and GM are going to be in a massive hurry to scale up operations in Mexico, which optically looks a lot better than directly in China, with Chinese partners, begin producing more and more vehicles in Mexico to export into the United States, as opposed to building them locally. At the same time, however, as these companies are struggling to start scaling up operations in Mexico to lower their costs, the Chinese companies in China, already at massive scale, many of whom are actually making some money and fairly compelling, well-priced electric vehicles, less Chinese imports are slapped with massive, massive tariffs, and I'm talking like 40, 50+%, a flood of extremely compelling relative to what the companies in the US besides Tesla are making. Electric vehicles are going to be flooding into the US, eating the lunch of Ford, GM, Stellantis, and so on, meaning that by the time they really get their operations up and running in Mexico, it's probably going to be too little, too late. That's when the mergers and acquisitions take place before the inevitable bankruptcy filings.
Well, that's enough for today. Keep tuning in again for more information about what's going on with Tesla and the auto market. I'll see you guys next time. See you tomorrow.